From the beginning, we've been sold a story, a perfect, polished, heavily filtered spiritual story. The one that says the chosen ones, the awakened, the enlightened, the spiritually gifted are pure light. That they walk on clouds of love, speak only in peace, and radiate nothing but positivity. That to be chosen is to be holy, flawless, untouchable by darkness. But I want to tell you something that will shake that illusion to its core. They lied. They lied to you, to me, to all of us. The truth is far more raw, far more powerful, and far more real. Because the chosen ones aren't pure light, and they were never meant to be. You see, the real chosen ones, the ones who carry the codes of transformation, the ones who shift timelines just by breathing, the ones who feel truth in their bones and pain in their blood, are forged in darkness. They are not chosen because they are perfect. They are chosen because they are willing to descend into the depths, into the shadow, into the chaos that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. They are not the ones who shine the brightest because they never knew pain. They shine because they took that pain and alchemized it. They sat in the fire and let it burn away everything false. They didn't run from their darkness. They became intimate with it. And that's what no one tells you, that your shadow isn't in the way of your light, it's the gateway to it. The lie that chosen ones are only light has made countless people feel broken. Like they're not good enough to be spiritual. Like they're too angry, too sad, too chaotic, too flawed to ever be awake. But what if your anger is sacred? What if your sadness is a map? What if your chaos isn't a curse but a calling? I've seen it again and again. The ones who carry the most potent spiritual gifts are also the ones who've known the deepest pain. They've walked through abuse, loss, betrayal, abandonment. They've questioned their sanity, their worth, their very existence. And in that crucible, something ancient awakens. A knowing, a fire, a frequency that says, you were never meant to be pure light. You were meant to be whole. Because light without shadow is not truth. It's performance. It's a mask. And masks may look beautiful, but they disconnect us from our power. Real power comes from integration, from embracing the parts of yourself you were taught to hide, from holding your rage and your grace in the same breath, from knowing that your trauma didn't make you less spiritual, it made you more capable of holding depth. And this depth, this is what the world needs now. We are not here to ascend and float away. We are here to embody the divine in the dirt. We are here to bring consciousness into the body, into the pain, into the generational wounds we were born into. That's the real path of the chosen, not to escape darkness, but to transmute it, to walk into the underworld and return with medicine, to take the shattered pieces and build temples from them, to look at the parts of us that feel unworthy and say, you belong here. You are part of the light too. So if you've been told that you're too much, that your emotions are a weakness, that your sensitivity is a flaw, hear me now. Those are signs. Those are markers. They're not evidence that you're broken. They're proof that you've been forged for something greater, that you're not here to be a perfect light being floating above it all. You're here to be a living bridge between dimensions, between heaven and earth, between spirit and form. And that bridge is built through your willingness to feel everything fully. But let me ask you something deep, something most people have never dared to ask themselves. What if your darkness isn't something to be healed, but something to be honored? What if your deepest wounds are sacred contracts you made before birth, not to be erased, but to be understood and wielded? What if the very things you've been trying to fix are the exact things that make you qualified to lead others through their own shadow? This is where we begin to understand the sacred paradox of the chosen. We are not chosen because we're above suffering. We are chosen because we refuse to look away from it. We are chosen because we are willing to descend into the very places that terrified us and emerge with the light of understanding. We are chosen because we don't run from the fire, we become the fire. And from that fire we create truth, we create healing, we create real transformation. And still, many of us are afraid to admit our darkness, to say out loud, I have rage, I have shame, I have envy, I have fear. but admitting it doesn't make you less divine. It makes you honest. And honesty is the foundation of every real spiritual path, because without it, you're just chasing a fantasy. You're just playing a role, and the world doesn't need more spiritual actors. It needs embodied warriors of truth, the ones who can look into the eyes of pain and say, I see you. I'm not leaving. Let's walk together. So here's what I want you to remember. If you've been through hell, you're not disqualified. You're equipped. If you feel deeply, you're not weak. You're wired for wisdom. If you've carried more than your share of suffering, it's not because you're cursed, it's because you're coded for something bigger. And no, you don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You just need to be present with all of you, especially the parts you were convinced disqualified you from being chosen. Because they didn't. In fact, they were the proof. In the next part, we're going to go deeper into the anatomy of being chosen. I'll reveal the hidden initiations every chosen one must go through, why they often feel cursed before they feel gifted, and how you can start recognizing your own divine training disguised as chaos.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
If you truly are chosen, and I'm not talking about the egoic fantasy of being better than others, but the soul level knowing that you came here for something extraordinary, then you've already felt the weight of that path. You've lived it, not in temples or ashrams, but in heartbreak, in confusion, in the silence of nights where you begged for answers and got nothing but your own breath echoing back at you. And that silence wasn't abandonment. It was initiation. Here's something few will ever say out loud. Before the chosen ones are empowered, they are broken. Not because the universe is cruel, but because the structures they were given, the inherited beliefs, the ancestral patterns, the societal roles were too small to hold their purpose. So life begins to dismantle them, not to destroy, but to reveal. The tower must fall so the soul can rise. The old identity must crack so the real self can emerge. And that cracking, that chaos, it's not failure. It's the forge. You've probably already gone through it, haven't you? The relationships that shattered your trust, the betrayals that felt like death, the moments where you lost everything, your stability, your certainty, your sense of who you were. And in those moments, you didn't just survive, you changed. You saw through illusions. You woke up to deeper truths. You became dangerous to the matrix because you no longer believed its stories. That's not a breakdown. That's spiritual boot camp. That's what the divine does to those who carry real power. It strips them of everything false so they can walk clean, not clean as in perfect, but clean as in clear. Because clarity is what the chosen carry. Not the kind that comes from books or gurus, but the kind that comes from direct experience, the kind of clarity forged in the fire of loss, the kind that says, I've seen the worst of myself and I still choose love. That's what makes you a leader in this new world. Not your light, but your integration of darkness, your ability to stand in the storm and not flinch. But let's go deeper. Let's talk about the reason why chaos is the first language of the chosen. It's because your soul didn't come here to play it safe. You didn't come to replicate. You came to recode, to rewrite, to rebuild from the inside out. And you can't rewrite a system you still belong to. So the divine pulls you out of it, violently, sometimes. It severs you from comfort, from consensus, from the illusions that keep most people asleep. Not to punish you, but to train you. To train you to hear your inner voice when everyone else's is louder. To train you to trust your intuition when it makes no logical sense. To train you to move in alignment even when it costs you everything you thought mattered. This is why many chosen ones feel isolated, misunderstood, alien. Because the early stages of initiation are lonely. You're being unplugged from the collective dream. You no longer fit in because you weren't designed to. You weren't made to belong, you were made to lead. And leadership in this context doesn't mean followers or fame. It means frequency. It means you embody a vibration that others can feel, even if they don't understand it. It means you walk into a room and truth walks in with you. But here's the part that most people miss. The chaos isn't just external, it's internal. The divine initiation will bring up everything you've buried, every childhood wound, every ancestral trauma, every belief system you inherited unconsciously. It all rises to the surface, not to drown you, but to be seen. And this is the test. Will you numb it? Will you run? Or will you stay and feel it fully? Because that's the only way it transmutes. What you feel, you free. What you face, you reclaim. And the chosen ones, we are reclaimers of truth, of power, of the sacred. So ask yourself this: what if the chaos in your life wasn't a sign you're off track, but a sign you're being initiated? What if the very things you've been praying to be removed are the exact things that are unlocking your purpose? What if the pain wasn't in the way but was the way? Because here's the secret that changes everything. When you stop resisting the chaos and start learning from it, it becomes instruction. It shows you what you're here to break, what you're here to heal, what you're here to build differently. Your heartbreak teaches you how to love. Your betrayal teaches you how to discern. Your loss teaches you how to hold space for others walking through fire. This is the curriculum of the chosen, and every lesson is sacred, so don't resent your path. Don't envy the ones who seem to have it easy. Understand that your life has been designed for depth, for wisdom, for zoom, and that's not something you can fake. That's not something you can skip. That's something you earn through every moment you choose courage over comfort, truth over image, presence over performance. We are not here to be liked. We are here to be real. And that realness, that's what changes lives. That's what activates others. That's what tears down the old and makes space for the new. In the next part, we'll uncover the hidden architecture of spiritual power. Why the chosen ones are not saints but sacred rebels. Why shadow mastery is the real mark of spiritual leadership. And how to walk this path with both fire and grace without losing yourself in the process. Let's cut through the illusion once and for all. Chosen ones are not here to be saints. They are not here to be the spiritual poster children who smile through every storm and never raise their voice. No. The true chosen are not made in temples, they are forged in the wild. They are the sacred rebels, the ones who disrupt the illusion, not perpetuate it, the ones who challenge systems, not bow to them, the ones who don't just talk about light, they walk directly into the darkness unarmed and come out holding a truth that no doctrine could ever teach. Here's the paradox that most people miss. To become light, you must first know your shadow, not just intellectually, but intimately. You must sit with it, breathe with it, listen to it without judgment. And that's where most people stop. Because it's not comfortable, it's not glamorous, it doesn't get likes or applause. But that's where the real work begins. Because the shadow is not your enemy, it's your mirror. It holds everything you've disowned, everything you were taught to hide, everything that was labeled unspiritual or inappropriate or too much. And if you never face it, it owns you from the dark. But when you face it, when you master it, it becomes your greatest source of power. Think about it. How many spiritual teachers have fallen from grace because they bypassed their shadow? How many people preach love while secretly resenting themselves? How many light workers are afraid of their own rage, their own jealousy, their own sexuality? That's not mastery. That's repression. And repression is not holiness, it's a spiritual prison. The sacred rebel refuses to live there. They don't play the game of spiritual performance. They embody truth, even when it's messy, especially when it's messy. Because the shadow is where your real gifts live. Your boundaries are forged in your anger. Your discernment is sharpened by betrayal. Your compassion is deepened through grief. Your intuitive clarity emerges from the silence of your darkest nights. But if you numb these parts, if you exile them, you exile your own power. And that's why the chosen ones are called to rebel not against others, but against everything inside themselves that was built on fear. This rebellion isn't loud. It's not about fighting the world. It's about liberating yourself from the stories that keep you small. It's about saying no more to every belief that says you have to be pure to be powerful. It's about remembering that divinity is not about being sanitized, it's about being sovereign. It's about being whole. And wholeness includes it all: the ugly, the divine, the sacred, the scarred. If you can't bring your darkness into your light will always be fragile. It will crack under pressure. But when your light includes your shadow, it becomes unbreakable. So how do we master the shadow? We stop running from our triggers. We stop blaming the world for our pain. We stop projecting our wounds onto others and start owning them. When something or someone activates you, don't react. Pause. Ask, what is this really showing me about me? That question is the gateway. It takes you out of victim and into power. It turns every trigger into a teacher, every shame into a signal, every wound into a well of wisdom. And slowly, you begin to see that your darkness never wanted to destroy you. It wanted to integrate. And here's a truth most people aren't ready to hear. Your shadow is just your power that was denied. When you were told to be quiet, your voice went into shadow. When you were shamed for being angry, your fire went into shadow. When you were made to feel unworthy, your love for yourself went into shadow. So mastering your shadow isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about reclaiming what was stolen, bit by bit, breath by breath, until you no longer fear yourself. That's the sacred rebel's path. It's not about being fearless, it's about being fear-facing. It's about turning toward the very things you were taught to avoid and saying, I will no longer abandon this part of me. And when you do that, when you integrate instead of exile, you become multidimensional, you become magnetic. People feel it. They don't know why they trust you, but they do. Because you're not just speaking light, you're speaking truth. And truth, when embodied, is the most healing force on earth. So I ask you, what part of yourself have you been afraid to face? What emotion still scares you? What truth about yourself have you buried because you thought it made you less spiritual? That's your shadow. That's your next initiation. Don't run from it. Invite it to the table. Speak to it with reverence. And then listen, because it will tell you exactly what you need to remember in order to become who you really are. In the final part, we will pull it all together. I will show you how to embody your full spectrum without collapsing into chaos or spiritual bypass. You'll learn how to walk the earth as a truly integrated being, alive, awake, whole, and undeniably chosen, not for your perfection, but for your presence. This is the part they never taught us. Not in school, not in religion, not even in most spiritual circles. They taught us to seek light, to chase purity, to become something polished and safe. But no one taught us how to be whole. No one told us that wholeness includes shadow just as much as it includes light. That the real chosen ones are not the most perfect, but the most present. Not the most enlightened, but the most embodied. And that's what we're here to reclaim now, not a fantasy of spirituality, but the truth of it. To be an embodied chosen one means you no longer seek to escape your humanity. You honor it. You breathe with it. You live inside it fully, without apology. Your divinity doesn't require you to float above your pain. It asks you to walk with it, to feel it, to let it teach you. Because embodiment isn't about being fearless, it's about being fully here. In your body, in your breath, in your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. You see, the world is addicted to half-truths, to spiritual platitudes that sound good but don't change you, to bypassing pain in the name of positivity, to clinging to light while ignoring the parts of themselves that are still bleeding. But you're not here for that. You're here to embody the full spectrum, to be the bridge between the sacred and the broken, to hold both the sword and the chalice, to speak truth even when it shakes your voice. Because real spirituality is not about escaping the storm. It's about becoming the eye of it. And that requires radical presence, radical honesty, Radical self-responsibility. You stop outsourcing your power. You stop blaming the world for your wounds. You stop waiting for someone to save you. Because you know now you are the one who remembers, the one who integrates, the one who walks this earth not as a prisoner of their past, but as a liberator of others. And you do that not by being perfect, but by being real. So what does it look like to live as an embodied chosen one? It looks like honoring your body as divine intelligence, not a problem to fix. It looks like allowing your emotions to move through you without shame. It looks like setting boundaries that protect your peace and choosing relationships rooted in truth, not performance. It looks like saying no when something violates your soul and saying yes when your heart feels terror and excitement in the same breath. It looks like trusting yourself, really trusting yourself as your clearest channel to the divine. But most of all, it looks like being willing to be seen. Not just the curated version, not just the enlightened version, the whole version. The one who still has questions, who still feels fear, who still sometimes forgets, and yet still shows up, still leads, still loves. Because you've stopped trying to be the light and started being the truth. And truth is magnetic. Truth is liberating. Truth is what this world is starving for. So let me ask you now, with no performance, no mask, no filter, are you willing to live as the whole truth of who you are? Are you willing to be seen in your rage, your grief, your tenderness, your wisdom? Are you willing to walk into this world not as a persona, but as a soul embodied? Because that's what it means to be chosen. Not chosen to be better, chosen to be true. Chosen to carry a frequency that can't be faked, a medicine that can't be copied, a presence that can't be denied. And when you live this way, when you stop hiding any part of yourself, you become undeniable. You become a mirror that reflects not just light, but wholeness. And that mirror, that's what heals others. Not your words, not your performance, your presence. So forget what they told you. You were never meant to be pure light. You were meant to be everything. Light and shadow, sky and soil, flame and ash. You are meant to remember that divinity doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be here, fully, deeply, unapologetically, as you are. Because this is the revolution, not more light, more truth, not more perfection, more presence, not more healing, more wholeness. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are becoming, and every part of your journey has been preparing you to walk this earth as someone who no longer hides from themselves, someone who no longer performs for love, someone who no longer fears their own power. You are not here to be saved. You are here to remember. You have always been the chosen one. And now, finally, you are choosing you.